Someone told me recently, that if you want to start a YouTube channel about faith, you should just start it. You should just do it. So, at 68 years old, having spent 30 years running global companies, travelling the world, asking difficult questions, making very expensive mistakes, and quite often, and arriving somewhat battered but largely intact at this particular point in time, I did. So welcome. Now, this channel is going to be about faith. It's going to be about specifically my faith, which is Christian, and within that, Christadelphian. But I want to be immediately clear about something here. This is not a Christadelphian-only channel. It's not a members-only space. It's not a place where the door is open a crack and you're assessed for doctrinal correctness before being allowed to enter inside. Nah, the door is open here completely. If you're a committed Christadelphian who has held these beliefs your entire life, you're welcome here. But if you're someone who grew up a Christadelphian and somewhere along the way you drifted away, walked away, or even possibly run away, I get that. You're welcome here. And perhaps especially you. But that's not just where I am, because if you're a Christian from any other tradition, you're a Baptist, you're a Catholic, an Anglican, a Pentecostal, Reformed, or any of the 100 other flavours and expressions of Christian faith, that do exist, you're welcome here. I may not agree with everything that you believe, you may not agree with everything that I believe. That's entirely fine. Look, the conversation is the point, right? If you're someone of another faith entirely, or you're just curious, or you're searching, you're asking the questions, I won't leave you alone at 3 a.m, you too are welcome here. And if you're a committed skeptic, and you find these questions intellectually interesting, even if the answers go nowhere near towards convincing you, then pull up a chair, eh? I find honest disagreement considerably more interesting than comfortable agreement. So, look, my name's John Fifield, okay? I'm 68 years old. I've spent, believe it or not, 30 years running companies across 4 continents. I've sat in boardrooms in London, in New York, in Hong Kong, Melbourne, and places considerably less glamorous than any of those. And I've made money and I've lost it, and I've built things and I've watched them fall apart. I've led thousands of people and been humbled by a great deal of them. And through all of it, quietly, imperfectly, and with more doubt than I've always been comfortable admitting, I've been a person of faith. I was born into a family of Christadelphians. I'm a 3rd generation Christadelphian. And although that's the case, it's not something that I embraced when I was young. It's a tradition, if you like, a belief that I came to through genuine engagement with Scripture rather than simply through inheritance. It's a community that I love, but I got very clear eyes about its flaws, and the set of beliefs I hold, they are comfortable and culturally convenient. They are neither, because I've looked at the evidence honestly and I find the beliefs more compelling than the alternative. So why now? Why am I doing this at 68? Because, I think now I've got things to say that I didn't have the courage or the clarity to say earlier. Because the conversations I want to have, honest, open, searching, sometimes uncomfortable, I guess, are conversations that I haven't been able to find elsewhere. And because 1 million people, right, watched my business channel in its first month, which I found bizarre, but it kind of told me somewhat, to my surprise, that there might be people out there that are willing to listen. So, here we are. Look, this channel, I hope, is going to be a bit of a journey, right? My journey through life, through faith, through the questions that have stayed with me longest, and the experiences that have shaped what I believe and why. But we're going to talk about the big questions. What happens when we die? Whether prayer does anything? Is it worthwhile? Whether God can be reconciled with suffering? Whether faith is rational in the scientific age? Whether the Bible means what it says and says what it means? We're also going to talk a bit about the Christadelphian tradition, but we're going to do that honestly, including its challenges, its divisions, its extraordinary global growth in places like Africa and to a degree Asia, and the questions that it needs to answer about its future. But hey, we're also going to talk about the intersection of faith and life, business and belief, relationships and love, loss and hope, and the gap between the faith that we, profess that we have and the way that we actually live our lives. And those things can sometimes seem to be at odds, can't they, So we'll talk about the things that organised religion of all flavours and denominations frequently gets wrong, because I think that conversation requires that honesty. It needs to have the good as well as the bad, alongside the things it gets quietly and stubbornly and enduringly and endearingly right. So it ain't going to be about sermons. I'm the last person that can give those. It's not going to be about performance. You can see the quality of production on this video alone. And it's got to be about pretending to have certainties that I certainly don't have. No, it's just going to be an honest conversation with whoever is in the room. So, hey, look, I'm not going to make this too long. I just want to end this first video with a bit of an invitation. Not to agree with me, and certainly not to become a Christadelphian, not to adapt any particular set of beliefs or abandon any that you currently hold. Simply to stay, simply to watch, simply to think, to ask questions. In the comments beneath, if you like, please, openly, honestly, including all the uncomfortable ones. I'll try my best to answer them as truthfully as I can, but look, I don't have all the answers. In fact, I've probably got more questions than those, but I'd love your comments, I really would. Because, I believe, I mean this genuinely, not as a platitude, right, that the questions are worth asking out loud, that faith grows stronger when it's examined rather than protected, that the God I believe in is not threatened by honest inquiry, and that if he is the God that the Bible describes, he's considerably more interested in the condition of your heart than the precision of your doctrine. Though, as I said, I don't have all the answers. I'm not sure anyone does, at least not yet. But I have lived long enough and thought hard enough and have been through enough to have something worthwhile saying, I think. And I am just old enough not to worry too much about who agrees with me. So welcome to the channel. God bless. Let's begin.